Pete Williams rounds out the holy triumvirate of Williams siblings. And this is the guy that knows the grow, you know? And Sally and Andy both have credited him as the initial ideas man, and he certainly demonstrates that through this interview. Enjoy. So we've got Pete Williams.
Hey there.
All right. So now here's the holy triumvirate. We've done Sally Vander Veer. We had Andy Williams. Here's Pete Williams. We did a tour before, so that'll be a whole different thing.
Okay.
You know, but this is the Pete Williams interview. You know, we got to find out about all these things that your brother and sister have been saying. Are they true? You know?
Yes.
What haven't they said?
I have a better memory than both of them, I think.
Well, let's start with, first off, there's a very specific story that came up with Andy Williams on his episode, as we call it.
Okay.
And this was the forest fire, if you will.
Okay.
Right?
Back I was probably 4 years old.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're 4. Okay, go on.
I have very distinct memories of this. My brother says he doesn't remember much of it, but I remember all of it. So we were, just like my brother said, we were having our freedoms, running around in the forest, having fun. And my brother was teaching me how to strike matches.
Right.
So we had a jar full of matches in the kitchen. And I went in there, told my mom, I've got to go to the bathroom. So I climbed up on the countertop, grabbed a couple books of matches, went back out to the forest. We used them up, and I ended up going back. Oh, I've got to go to the bathroom again, Mom. So I climbed up and got more matches. I think I did that a few times. I don't know why she didn't get suspicious.
Right.
But then we take the matches out to the woods, and we're doing different things with them, burning different things. But the time the forest fire started, we were putting matches in a big circle, seeing if we could light one and have them burn all the way around the circle.
Yeah.
And I remember doing that, and I remember the fire starting and it getting out of control, and us running out of the forest to a hedgerow that might have been 50 yards away,
Yeah.
and us laying down in the hedge and just watching the fire truck show up, thinking, oh, Mom's going to be so mad. She's going to be so mad.
Right.
So we're watching the fire trucks. The fire trucks finally leave, and we go home. And Mom's like, what'd you guys do? And we told her what we did, and we didn't get in too much. I don't remember getting in too much trouble. I
Right.
think she just didn't want the cops to know that we did it.
Yeah, no, these are the authorities.
Yes.
We don't want the authorities. And so you're 4 years old at the time.
Yep.
So my niece is 4.5 as we speak. And so she's capable of this kind of situation, is what you're saying.
Oh, yes, definitely. And remembering it. But I remember my dreams from back in that trailer park. I remember the Booger Man. Instead of the Boogie Man, it was the Booger Man.
Uh-huh.
And I remember him coming up the road for me. Of the trailer park, marching up the road, the Booger Man coming to get me. So I remember my early nightmares even.
Now, the trailer park, when you were 4 and 6, because we've got the timeline from Sally that you kind of wound up in Colorado, but there was California, there was New York, there was even Japan.
Yep.
Where was this?
I was conceived in Japan. I never spent any time in Japan besides in my mother's belly.
Uh-huh.
This was in upstate New York, is
Oh, it
where
was.
the trailer park fire happened. We were living in a trailer.
Yeah.
You heard all the different stuff from Andy and Sally, how poor we were. And,
Sure.
I just remember, just like my brother and sister, I had a great life. I remember my life being great. We never had much, but I had my imagination. I had some early teachers that developed my imagination just by closing your eyes and imagining things. And I think that's really helped me in life, having a good imagination and knowing how to use that. And I'm a professional TV watcher. I also listen to books on tape, 1,000 pages a week. So I'm always in a different world in my mind, in my imagination. I'm really good at that. I feel sorry for people who don't have a good imagination because it's something that's learned. It's not something that you're born with or most people are born with. And it's something that I've thought about and tried to improve throughout my life is imagination.
And as far as growing is concerned, you know, everybody gives you credit as you're that guy. And so in terms of imagination, is that what you feel informs those new ideas that you have about, oh, you know, we do it this way now, you know, what we could do is X, Y, and Z?
Well, I had some great mentors in my life, which taught me what I know now of how to find the elegant solution to a problem. It was, say, my father was one of the first ones. My stepdad, Richard, he was a great influence on all of us. My neighbor, Pat McHugh, who taught me how to hunt, reload bullets, kind of the outdoorsy side. One of my bosses when I was 16, I learned how to fabricate my own tools, how to fix anything. We were a repair shop, a rental store slash repair shop, and I had gone to lawnmower and motorcycle school.
Hmm.
So I was there fixing everybody's lawnmowers and all the equipment. But he was a very resourceful person in business. So I learned the shady side of business, how to float money, how
Right.
to
Right.
how to do different, not illegal, but you got to know all the sides of the world. You've got to know the dark side to understand the dark side. So he taught me how to make my own tools, how to think for myself, and a little bit of the dark side. Um,
And when you say dark side, mostly I would imagine you mean just getting stuff done. If you don't
yeah,
have the resources, find
yeah.
different resources to get through to point B.
If you can get a person to finance, say you need 5 things financed. If you can get the first person to finance you any way you can, the second one's going to fall in line because the first one. So it's a matter of just trying and working your way into just getting started. And once it gets started, the ball will keep rolling, hopefully. But that's a bad way of explaining it. But the mentors in my life
Yeah.
have taught me to be the person I am right now.
Yeah.
And taking a problem and seeing a solution for it, or working on a solution, and just I don't always find the solution. I'll be watching TV 2 days later, and the weirdest combination of things on the TV will spark the thoughts that lead to finding the solution. So it's not always you are looking for a solution and you see the solution. It's you see something that leads you to that solution, the thought process.
Well, let's talk about the shaping of that mind. Let's talk about, you mentioned early teachers
Yeah.
who helped you use your imagination. Talk specifically about that. Are we talking about first grade, second grade?
That was, third grade, Miss Patton.
Okay.
Great teacher.
No relation to the general?
No,
Right.
she was Dominguez, then Patton is where I learned about divorce. And even though my mom was divorced, I
Yeah.
kind of learned about it from her.
Right. Because your situation was simply reality. Hers was someone else's story.
Yeah, and her name changing, it was kind of weird.
Yeah.
It was just, I learned about it with her, but she was just a very caring person that would have us all lay on the classroom floor. I doubt they do this anymore.
Yeah.
I want you guys all to close your eyes and imagine that you're floating, doing this. Then why don't you imagine that your body is this color, and just taking it to the next level. And um, it's a learned thing. It's not something you just do naturally. Or you can. Most
Yeah.
people can't. But
Right.
if you're guided, it can be a really neat thing in life.
And she did. She guided you through. She said, step one, do this. Step two, do
Yep.
this. And do you remember any pieces from, third grade? It's a while back, but we just talked about
every
you.
bit of it.
Yeah. So what idea or thought did you come up with in one of those kind of sessions, if you will?
No, it was not really thinking. It was not thinking.
Yeah.
Letting my mind. I have a problem with my mind going too fast,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what pot helps me slow it down.
Right.
I'm dangerous without pot. What was the question again? I'm
You
sorry.
Start talking on Tuesday, finish on Saturday type of thing. No, I was trying to get at if you remember any specific ideas that came up through any of those sessions early on, and you said that you started to talk about your mind going very fast.
Yeah.
And it's probably time for you to medicate.
I have not smoked anything today.
Yes,
you
you
just
just proved that.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more of a thought process, and it's not just the imagination, it's a positive attitude. A smile and thinking the best is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It really works for me. And how Andy and Sally have been talking about all this family luck, they're riding my luck.
You
I'm
think?
the lucky one. I really am. My brothers had businesses that failed. I've never had anything that failed. Everything I do succeeds.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to knock on wood. I've never wrecked a car. I'm a professional race car driver, and I'm a very, very lucky guy. And I think my brother and my sister are riding my luck.
And so you're this very lucky guy. Do you truly feel that you're lucky, or do you put yourself on a path that ensures it?
I really think it is a path.
Yeah.
A positive attitude and a smile will get you so much farther in this world than just being neutral and not smiling. It's one of my secrets is smiling. And another secret, it's that people I have a nice group of friends, but people always want to be your friend, and I don't have time for more friends.
Mm-hmm.
And what the problem is I make friends really easily. We moved around a lot when I was younger, so that was one of the things I learned is how to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big things, I'll teach you a secret right here, to make a friend or to bring somebody into your confidence is when you're talking to them about any normal thing, tell them a secret.
Mm-hmm.
Bring up something that's embarrassing about yourself that you normally wouldn't tell somebody, and that person will open up to you because you opened up to them. It's one of my secrets. I naturally do it. I don't mean to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something that you talk about yourself in a deprecating way, and people start liking you. And it's just a habit of telling people secrets so that they open up to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a lot of people saying, "You want to be friends?"
Right.
And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I
Kind of
don't have
no.
time."
Yeah.
I have my best friend Travis, my hetero life partner.
Yes.
We've been friends for 25 years now. When I was married, I really wasn't allowed to hang out with him because I was having too much fun, and
Right.
women don't want you to have fun.
No.
And I was called gay, and I'm not gay. He's my hetero life partner.
Yeah.
There's no touching involved, but we're very like-minded. He's a scientist, environmental engineer. He stays at home and takes care of mom and grandma, and I support him. And
Right.
he helps when we travel. I get sick pretty often. I have a pretty weak constitution when I get nervous.
Mm-hmm.
So he takes care of me when we travel. He takes care of the kids. We went to Europe for a month last year, and he was with us. And when I was sick, he was taking care of our adult kids and doing all the things I might normally do. So he's the kid's second mother.
Okay.
Travis is his
Right.
name, and he's
So then, okay. So when and where did you meet Travis? How long?
he
has
was
he
my
been on the
drug
path?
dealer.
He was.
back, yes. He knew my wife in high school,
Yeah.
and we all worked at Cobe Laboratories back in the day, a
Okay.
medical facility where we produced the different medical products.
Okay.
And he was friends with my wife in high school. We worked together at Cobe Laboratories. He was our drug dealer, and when I was in my early 20s, and we became friends, and we were friends over the last 25 years or more.
Yeah.
But I would hang out with him for a while, but then the wife would get mad, and I would just have to stop hanging out with them.
Yeah.
And it's just women, they don't want you to be happy.
Well, I think that when you're sharing, when you have a partner,
Yeah.
it's difficult for both of you to be happy
Yeah.
because you both have each your own point of view, each your own things you want to do, and
I was very lucky with the woman I married. She was
Yeah.
very unselfish.
Yeah.
It's so hard to find unselfish people. So she was very family driven like us. We worked, everything went to the family. I didn't go out. I come home from work every day and say, "What would you like to do, honey?"
Right.
I just didn't have suggestions, and she wanted to do more. And I'm a boring person. I enjoy TV.
right.
So
You
that
said you're a
was
professional TV.
I am a professional TV watcher. I am. My daughter and I we're both press 6 to 8 hours a day. It's my thing.
Well, let's get through to how you kind of found the basement where Andy became a PhD, a post-hole digger, as he
Yes.
explained. So imagination early on with teachers, you had mentors that you mentioned, like your father and your stepfather, and your early boss, Pat McHugh. Is that right?
Pat McHugh was my neighbor.
Neighbor,
My boss was Joe March.
Okay, Joe
Yes,
March.
yes.
But did you go to school? Did you go to university?
No, I didn't even graduate high school.
Right. Oh, you didn't?
No,
Didn't?
I had children in high school. My girlfriend got pregnant. It was my senior year. She was a junior.
Right.
So I ended up dropping out of high school with one credit left to go. So it was 4 classes for 1 quarter,
Yeah.
and I could have graduated. But instead I got a job, and we got an apartment, moved out. We should have stayed at home with mom.
Uh-huh.
Because we got an apartment. She had the baby, and the next day we were back at mom's house for a couple of weeks. Help. We needed help.
Right.
With a new baby.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Everyone needs help, let alone, 16, 17-year-old?
Yeah, we were 17 and 18 at the
Oh,
time. Yep.
my goodness.
So neither of us graduated high school. I got my GED shortly after that.
You did, okay.
Yep. And I was working. That was when I was working at the rental store with that Joe March, which was my boss.
Okay.
And when Kayla was born, I left there because there were some bad influences there too that I needed to get away from. So I got away from that. Even though he was a great guy, great job, everything, I just needed to make a change in my life. There was some, things going on there I shouldn't be doing.
Right.
And so I got away from that, and I was doing precast concrete, very dirty. I was the only white guy in an all Mexican building.
Right.
And so doing precast concrete, coming down from the things that I was doing wrong. So I had a little bit of withdrawals going on and stuff like that, working concrete and raising the new baby in the apartment. So it was
Sounds easy, right?
It wasn't bad. It's hard work makes me feel good. And that's why before this, I was doing tile for a decade before I started doing this. And the first couple years of doing this marijuana business, I
Yeah.
was working really hard, taking care of all the plants, doing all the building, doing everything with myself and my cousin and a few other people. And now it's hard to think of yourself as a man when my job is all in my head now. And
Yeah.
I'm used to it being physical with construction, different things like that. But my job is to come up with ideas and jot them down on napkins. And it's tough. I love my job,
Yeah.
but it's hard to feel good about yourself when you're not sweating and being physical like I grew up doing. So it's weird.
So you need the best of both worlds, because you've admitted that you do love the idea of getting into the imagination and coming up with the new ideas, but it's almost an incomplete thing for you.
Well, that's where when I was a tile guy for a decade doing custom tile work, I owned my own company, Eager Beaver Tile. Andy had Eager Beaver Fencing.
Yeah.
It was a family name. But I was really good at what I did, and it was artwork. I was doing the big custom mosaics in the showers and the entryway floors in the multi-million-dollar homes. So it was art. I wasn't just doing the same thing over and over. I'm taking a space and using my future vision. It's a thing that Andy and Sally tease me about, is the future vision.
That's the word.
Using my future vision to see the finished product before it's in there. And that's the same with marijuana. I can take a table of 54 plants when it first goes in there and use my future vision, which they laugh at me about it. I don't know. But it's our new company name too. Future Vision is
There
our
we
new
go.
company. But I'll see the plants and I'll see what they're going to look like 2 months from then. And most people don't have that. It's just being able to see the potential in something. If things are done right, this is what it's going to be. The same as seeing a problem and finding a solution for it. That's one of my specialties, is not just looking for something that's specifically designed for that, is walking up and down all the aisles at Home Depot looking for a little widget. And it's not going to be in the widget department. It might be in the window department in a $120 pack that I just want one little part out of there. But like Home Depot has everything you need to do a grow if you're willing to look around enough for it. So just using your imagination, taking stuff from other industries, other trades, and bringing them into this, because things aren't made for the marijuana industry, or not very many things are made.
Right.
So a lot of the things we're doing are custom designed and custom built. And that's where my job is to design and build all the different gadgets, the light movers, the tables, the airflow, and all the different things like that.
And we did that tour, and you've got two separate sides, which
Yeah.
have it. I don't want to say it's night and day, because the old side works just fine.
Yes.
It's just that the new side's completely different.
Yeah, it's that much better.
Yeah. And now, did you, understanding that you do like to come up with the ideas, but also get your hands dirty, were you in there working and putting up fans and things like that? Or do
No.
you know that you shouldn't be doing that?
In the beginning, I did all of that.
Right.
And now I'm smart enough to pay somebody that's better than me to do things. That's one of our big successes, is surround yourself with smart people.
Yeah.
My brother and my sister are part of, I wouldn't be able to do this myself. I'm not a businessman. I'm not a suit.
Yeah.
I'm more towards the stoner side. I'm not a stoner, but I'm not a suit for sure.
Right.
But with Andy and I, in the beginning, we're just the greatest team, because he is such a businessman. He is so smart.
Yeah.
I say he's the smartest person in the industry. There's no one who knows more than him about all the laws and up and coming things. I'm so lucky to have him doing that, because I don't like that stuff. I enjoy the inventing, and I used to enjoy handling the plants and doing the plants. I don't like getting sticky anymore. It's sad. But it's surrounding yourself with good people, and that's what we've got, a great crew, 70 people or so. It was a lot more fun when it was 30 people.
Yeah.
And I knew everybody's name and I knew their families, and we were all having picnics and stuff. We're getting more and more corporate, which is tough. I'm the tweener, the taint of the business. I'm between the corporate and the employees.
Right.
I'm the guy who comes in and brings lunch, and they feel like they can tell me anything,
Right.
and I'm not going to get them in trouble. So I try to be friends with a lot of the employees and be their go-between. I'm very not corporate. They know that.
Yeah.
If they tell me something and tell me to keep it a secret, I'm going to keep it a secret. So I'm that guy who can be friends with the employees, and I do no disciplining. I push that off on my managers and my sister, and
Sure.
I get to be the nice guy.
Yeah.
It's so nice being able to be the nice guy.
And you're the plant guy, you're the product guy, you're not the business guy. It all
No.
makes sense.
No.
So let's just make sure that we dot the line here. you started to talk about Joe March, and is that where you were fabricating? Is that the same job or different?
That's where I learned to make my own tools. If
Right.
I didn't have something, a piece or a part, I'd take a hunk of raw steel and start working on it to make that part. Because we were at a rental store in Broomfield, Aardvark Rentals. That's not there anymore.
Awesome.
But we had all the machines, all the lathes, everything we needed, we rented out in that store.
Yeah.
So if we needed to build something, we did it. And he didn't know much about lawnmowers, so he started a whole business around me fixing lawnmowers. I actually went off at one time and started a lawnmower fixing business. I was really good at fixing the lawnmowers, and I would do it at your house for cheaper than they do it taking 2 weeks. But getting the business, I didn't have the savvy. I put up signs, I did a few things, I got a few customers, but it didn't snowball into what I needed it to be.
Yeah.
And so that business ended up failing, or not failing. I
Just not succeeding.
It's not
really.
succeeding,
Right.
yes. So I
what-
drove
what-
pizzas after that for 3.5 years.
Pizzas.
Yeah, it
All
was
right.
decent money. Back in the 90s, a $5 tip was okay. Nowadays, you got to give at least a $5 tip or that driver's not getting enough.
Right.
But back then, tips were okay, and I was working full-time, making enough to support the family, driving pizzas.
Right.
And the kids loved it. The dog loved it.
Sure.
It's a great, kind of like pot's a great commodity for trade. Pizza was a great commodity for trade too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'll bring you over a pizza. So the similarities before we get to pizzas, and we probably won't spend too much
That's okay.
time there, but lawnmowers and motorcycles, I mean, that's machinery. That,
Yes.
you know, and how similar are those two motors? I would imagine very similar.
Very similar. The lawnmower is just at a very simple level. The motorcycle takes everything to the complexity. But I was very, very good on lawnmowers. I rode motorcycles back in the 80s, back before anybody had a crotch rocket. I had a job where even before then I had another motorcycle. When I was 16, I got my first motorcycle, and it was a Magna, a really nice cruiser. And then when I was 17 or so, I was one of the first people in Colorado to get a crotch rocket. Back before the Ninjas were the only thing out, and I got the brand new Katana, and there was one in Broomfield, one in Denver. There were just very few in town. So I'm kind of a trendsetter with vehicles. I'm still that way. With the Mazda I bought several years ago, and then with the Evo I bought now, all the cars, I'm ahead of the game on my vehicles. Every
Okay.
time. Whatever vehicle I'm buying is going to be the hot thing 2 years from now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I should go out to the parking lot, make sure
It's
I
my
am.
Evo.
There you go. There you go.
Everything's looking like those. When I first bought that, nothing looked like those, and now everything has that front end of that
Goes
Evo.
into the shape of that.
Yeah,
That's
it really
exactly
does.
right. Even the Jaguar
Yep.
looks like that.
Yep, it does. All of them.
It's amazing.
Yep.
All right, so Aardvark rentals and lawnmowers and motorcycles and pizzas.
Yes.
And and you're basically you're using your hands. You're laying tile. Was tile after pizzas?
Yeah, tile was the last thing I did. I did it for a decade.
Okay.
I trained for a couple of years under a company.
Uh-huh.
Then I went off and did it on my own and was very successful. Andy was talking. I was listening to Andy's report, and he said he had the worst problems finding employees. I found the best employees. I would train them for a year, and the first week they were there, I told them, "You're going to be with me for a year, and then you're going to leave me because you're going to know what you're doing, and you're going to want to make the money I'm making."
Right.
So I always knew I was training a person for a year so that they'd go start their own business. But I got some great people to work with. And if I didn't have somebody training, I always had my books on tape going.
Right.
So it's my whole life. I've read at least 1,000 novels. Most
Right.
people can't say that.
No.
And it's so much knowledge. It's a college education. I never went to college, but if you read enough books and the right books, it's better than a college education because
Sure.
so many different science. I read a lot of science fiction, so I have a lot of science, just the theories and the possibilities, and I have a really good sense of if I hear something, whether it's going to work or not. It's one of my spidey senses or my eighth sense or something like that.
Whether it's going to work or not. What are we saying?
I just
there?
get a good feeling. If I'm making a prototype or if I'm building something, I get a feeling of whether this is it or not. And it's happened throughout Medicine Man. Is I come up with the idea, I draw it out, and like, oh my gosh, this is the future.
Yeah.
And I feel it in my gut. And if I don't feel that gut feeling, I'm more leery about things. So it's a very intuitive, or my intuition. I use it.
I
I
want to talk
rely on
about
that luck.
Yeah. As you keep talking, I understand that you are a lucky person.
Yeah.
You remind me of one of my very good friends who literally can't go into a casino and lose. It's amazing.
I don't gamble.
Yeah.
I have a system. I play on roulette, and
Yeah.
I'll play for hours on my couple $100
Yeah.
and can walk away with the same amount of money sometimes. But gambling is not a winning game,
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, no. All right. So let's talk about that intuition at Medicine Man in just 1 minute. I do want to
Okay.
get through the tile thing, because that's where, you stuck there for a decade, right?
Yeah.
So that's like the kind of home base before Medicine Man.
Yes.
And it was your own business.
Yep.
And you're training folks, and they're going to stay with you for a year, and then they go on. How were you getting those clients that you insist that you can't get?
In the beginning, that's the hardest part of starting a business, is getting the clients.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, it was tough. Then you start talking to designing firms. And I did a job for this one design firm, and they really liked my work. So there were several designers there that started using me. So I started working for that design company, which was more than half my work.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, I ended up getting a job at the Cherry Creek Country Club, very ritzy neighborhood. I was doing all the houses around the lake.
Oh, wow.
And it was one after another, multi-million-dollar homes, gravy work, making really good money.
Mm-hmm.
But then the economy went to crud several years ago, and they stopped selling those houses. That's when I had to go back to doing remodel. I also got divorced from the wife at the time, and I was going through a bit of a funk. People call it depression. I called it disappointment.
Okay.
So there was a little disappointment going on at that time. So I was crying on the job site when I did get jobs.
Okay.
And so that's about when I started growing pot in the basement
Sure.
to supplement my income that wasn't happening anymore. I lost that big gravy job I had, and I was doing remodel again. So I just went to the hydroponic store and listened. And I wasn't a green thumb before this. I just look. My wife was gone. It's something I always wanted to do. My kids were 18, so I was able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they really wanted me to do it too, because they were pot smokers.
Right. Right.
So I spent the last bit of my credit card debt at the hydroponic store over a 6-month period, building my basement out. And it was probably $15,000 or so to build my basement out, and over time.
Mm-hmm.
But then I kept reinvesting the money into it,
Mm-hmm.
and kept getting more and more complex. And I found in the end, the more complex you go, it doesn't necessarily make it better. But I had a
How do you
very
mean?
nice
Let me
system.
stop you there. How do you mean the more complex? I mean, yes, okay, fine, but what do you mean?
Okay, like we're growing in pots with cocoa. You add water every other day. I was growing in PVC tubing that's 10 inches across, and the roots are hanging down, and a river is flowing through the roots, and there's spray heads spraying the other roots, and underground reservoirs, they're chilled. Andy got that wrong. I still had to put a chiller on it, my underground reservoir. But the water gets pumped back up to those spray heads, and it all flows with gravity back down. So it's aeroponics, which is a great way to grow. It's the best way to grow.
Yeah.
But for an industrial setting, if you have a pump go out, you can have major crop failures. So we've gotten back to the basics, where you have buffers, and we have just as good of results with our buffers as, or almost as good.
Mm-hmm.
The hydroponics was that much, a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not worth all the risk you're taking right now. I have the systems designed that are fully hydroponic. Our version right now is the indoor grow.
Mm-hmm.
We have the $5 million greenhouse being built right now, which is the next step, and it's going to hopefully cut our production in half, or double or triple our production, but cut the cost of production in half.
Right.
And that's a big step.
Right.
But then there's the step after that is the fully automated factory that a human hand never needs to touch the marijuana through the whole process. And I've got it already designed. I went to Holland last year and spent some time with some really well-connected people.
Mm-hmm.
And how they grow orchids in Holland is, I think, translatable into this industry. And I've already specially designed the pots, all the different stuff for the fully automated system to come. But that's probably a $20 million build.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ahead of where I am. I don't have the proof of that system either.
Right.
So what we're selling now is something we have 5 years of data on. But I have the greenhouse going up, which is the future of the industry, is using nature, to your advantage.
Right.
And so greenhouses for a lot of states are the future, and we're getting our model, which is way more expensive than anybody else's model. It's beautiful. I over-engineer everything.
Right.
But then the next model is the fully automated mile-long greenhouse. It's really exciting.
So you've got the old side, which, Sally has talked about and Andy has talked about. You've got the new side. You've got the, this new facility going up, but you're already thinking about the next
Next step,
facility
yes.
that you're not even in the third facility yet.
Yeah. And what it is we don't have the capital to do my ideas.
Sure.
But as soon as it goes off of Schedule 1, the richest people in the country are going to be getting into this. So I've got the ideas for them to implement. I'll use their money maybe and
Sure.
own a little piece of it.
Yeah.
I'm not greedy or anything that way. I think my ideas, I've looked at other people's ideas and mine are working really well. And I just don't want them to have to go through all the trial and error that I did. I've gotten through all of that. And the model we're selling here is great. It's got a certain efficiency, but I know it can be done better. But this has so much proof behind it, we've got to sell this model.
You say 5
Yeah.
years of data, you can't go wrong is
No,
basically.
and we're getting the highest levels of production, even though I know we can get higher. We get 2 pounds per 1,000-watt light, which is really great. Most people can't achieve that. I think we can get 3 pounds per 1,000-watt light, but it's all to do with genetics. Right now I'm running, I heard Andy say 90 different strains. I thought it was 60, but we might be running a variety of 90 different strains. And not all of those are big producers. So if I was just to run my biggest producers, I could produce 3 pounds per light and make more money, but it's the variety we're going for and quality and variety. So it's we're catering to the customer, not trying to make as much money as we can.
Yeah, and we said it on the tour, you could be a factory if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Talk about the creativity and the art and the number of strains and making sure that you're, yes, of course, delivering for what the consumer wants, but ensuring that there is that kind of art side of things, that artisanal side of things for the strains that you're growing that aren't necessarily your biggest sellers.
Yeah. Genetics is such a big part of the industry. One of our best buds happens to be one of our smallest growers. So it's called the Girl Scout cookies, but it grows little quarter-sized buds rather than things that are 4 or 5 inches across. But it stays in the rotation because people come from all over the state just to get those cookies because there was a rap song made about the Girl Scout cookies. So it became a famous name. I actually got a cutting off the plant the song was made of. So I've got a genetic duplicate to what the song was made of. So people come from all over the state to get those cookies. But that's one of the plants that lowers my production. But it's higher quality. It's just beautiful bud. It tastes beautiful, looks beautiful, and people are willing to pay a little extra for that. It might not get you much higher. It might depend on the person. Everybody's metabolism is different. But some people are there really for the looks and the flavor and the effect. Some people don't have that kind of money. They're just there. If it affects them right, they'll buy it.
Yeah.
But other people have the money to say, I want the purple bud. I want the best of the best tasting.
Yeah.
So there is the market for that gourmet bud still. But our store is kind of not in the hood. It's not the richest part of town.
Yeah, it's on the way from the airport.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's not the richest.
downtown.
It's not the richest. So a lot of our customers are spending their own money, not spending their husbands or wives or their parents' money. So they're here to get marijuana and get it as cheaply as possible. So that's our model also, is being a large scale, high quality and consistency, but trying to keep the prices as low as possible for our demographics. If I was in Cherry Creek, our prices might be a little higher because the demographics are different. But we're trying to cater to our customers. And now it's gotten different to where 60% of our customers are tourists. So it has gotten different from the pure demographics we used to have. Now it's a lot of tourists, but you're still trying to cater to your demographics as much as possible. And that's cheap pot is what they want.
Yeah, and you showed us Girl Scout cookies, and we'll take a picture of that because it is. I've never seen anything like it. It looks like what you want it to look like.
Yeah, it really does.
And then the purple strain, which we'll also take a picture of.
Yeah.
What is that?
That was a deep chunk. That dark purple is called deep chunk. It doesn't taste as good as some of the other ones. It's a lot of times the purples will put you to sleep, my sister says. I just heard her say that recently.
Okay.
But it'll sell for more money, even though it doesn't taste quite as good.
Yeah.
It's just a prestigious, that dark purple. And we've got
Is it an indica or?
Probably an indica.
Yeah, right.
I should know that.
Okay.
But we've got another one called Purple Urkel that's almost a mauve. It's a reddish, purplish pink. And it's as dark purple as that is, this is mauve. And that's just, those ones sell for more money. And that one smells like Blueberry cereal. You probably remember Blueberry.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody that was a child in the 80s,
Yes.
you'll know Blueberry. Okay, so we've got all of these unique strains, and we're continuing to do that. Not necessarily, we don't have to. We're doing it purposely.
Well, and the new strains like our Canasu.
Yeah.
It's the great CBD strain and THC. So there's Charlotte's Web, who really high in CBD and barely any THC. That's great for some people, their seizures and their problems. But if you add a little THC to that, it opens it up to so many more people. So Charlotte's Web is great, but this I think is better because it's a 14% CBD, 7% THC, so a 2-to-1 ratio. Plus it has the CBNs, CBCs, CBGs, which are all the other components that when mixed together with the CBD or the THC and all the different ones, miracles can happen. There are just Parkinson's patients going from non-functional to functional human beings. And that's a miracle to me. They can't knit, they can't cook, and now they can. People who haven't slept well in years come to you crying, saying, I'm sleeping again. Thank you. It's such a neat industry to be in because the feedback you get, I've never heard bad feedback. It's all good. And anything I hear bad on the news, those people probably are mixing alcohol or cocaine with their pot, or they're stupid to begin with.
Right. Well, there's a very good possibility, as they are human beings, that they are stupid to begin with. So, but we skipped over really you taking care of patients. You were growing in your basement, and you were caring for patients. And you obviously know that well, the language and what the strains can do, and talk to that. We were on the medical side, and that's where that the combination of maybe you don't want any THC, but maybe 10% isn't so bad. Talk about
Well, let's go back to where I was growing in my basement.
There you go.
I had 16 patients to where I paid for their prescription and they signed their rights to grow their plants over for a year to me. I didn't have anything to do with them afterwards. I didn't actually help them. They didn't contact me. I just had the rights to their license. I didn't have to sell to them. I could sell to dispensaries back in those days. Nowadays you can't.
Right.
So I didn't have anything to do with my patients or caregiving. No, I didn't.
Okay.
I was growing for them. I paid for their license. And then I would take my pounds and go to the dispensaries and sell them. And so I didn't have to have people come over and give them advice and all that stuff. It was legal back then as long as you had the rights to grow them, you didn't have to sell to those people. You could sell to the dispensaries also. So my early model, I was a caregiver, but it was that early model cowboy days, caregiver selling to dispensaries, not actually caregiving for my 16 people. Had my packet by the door lock camera on the door, all the different laws that you had to have to make it legal to grow at home. I had that. I had my packet, my camera, and I was doing everything right. And my brother saw me making $100,000 a year out of my basement and asked me let's do this together.
Hey, I got a good idea.
Yes.
Pete. Yeah. So, but to that end, though, I wonder, take us through, we like to talk about cannabis as medicine as often as we can.
Okay.
Talk through CBDs and CBNs and CBGs and what that's doing for, how that's coming into the plant and how you're evoking what you're evoking and what you're doing to make the medicine that it is.
See, and a lot of those, they're just finding out what they do. Like recently I heard the CBCs can actually grow cells like stem cells. CBNs are more of the stuff that might make you tired. CBGs, I don't really know what they do, but I know you combine these together. I'm lucky enough not to have to know all this specific stuff. We hire very smart people to know this.
Yeah.
But I know like THC by itself will get you high.
Sure.
CBD by itself might help your seizures, but you combine them and it does a whole different thing. And every person's metabolism is different, so it's a trial and error thing. We know what works for arthritis or what works for this or that. So when you come in and say, I have arthritis, we pull up these 5 jars and say, this is what everybody else uses for their arthritis. Why don't we start you here?
Yeah.
So that's how a lot of the starting process goes, is finding out what you want to start with. Is if they'll either say, I have this kind of pain, or I'm going to a concert, or I'm doing whatever.
Yeah. And
then the bud tender will start leading them in that direction, whatever makes them comfortable. So it's a lot of questions and answers are asked to get people to the right place.
And I mean, I feel like...
Sorry I didn't answer the question.
No,
either.
that's fine. But you did answer it, meaning, your point is I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, but we're working on, what you do is you get the feedback from all these plants, and you get
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of bits of feedback, and then you test those. We've already tested them, so we know what the components are in there. So then you just Andy's smart enough to make a graph or a chart on the computer that's going to tell us this combination of CBD, CBG, whatever, always seems to work for arthritis. So there's smart enough people can take the data we're collecting and figure out the answers.
And push it into reality.
Reality, yeah. And doctors can prescribe X amount of milligrams of this and this and this, and we'll make the pill and give it to you. Or make the custom blend. Kind of like tobaccos. You custom blend Canasu with Girl Scout cookies and this and that, and you get your milligrams and all that.
So you've mentioned a couple of strains, and why not mention a couple more?
Okay.
Right? We've got the Girl Scout cookies. We've got the, the purple. What was that one again?
Purple Urkel?
Purple Urkel, and
Yes.
the predecessor, which is the deeper purple
Deep
one.
chunk.
Deep chunk.
Yes.
What else? What other strains are some of your favorites from Medicine
See,
Man?
like Blue Dream. Everybody has Blue Dream. Everybody knows what Blue Dream is. But every Blue Dream is different. Every seed you plant is different. So if a mother has 10 babies, say I plant 10 Blue Dream seeds, these are the 10 babies, they're all going to look slightly different. And I'm looking for that mutant freak baby. So we're doing testing for 4 months to find out which one of these 10 Blue Dream seeds is going to be that big, juicy producer. So we take a clone, we grow it out, we finish it, and then we look at what the finished product is and decide, do we want to keep one of these strains? And if one worked out really well, we keep it and get rid of the rest and then start running clones of that over and over. So our Blue Dream is a specific Blue Dream, because people come from all over and say, oh, I only smoke Blue Dream. And I think you're silly, because every Blue Dream's different, and this Blue Dream's going to be different most likely than the one you got. Unless I got a cutting off that plant, then I might have the same Blue Dream.
Yeah. Just let's take that tangent for those that listen for this type of information.
Okay.
I mean, Jen Murray from Can Labs has said the strain, it almost doesn't even matter, and you're almost saying that.
Yeah.
What am I getting then? If it's all Blue Dream, it's not all Blue Dream. What is it?
It's Blue Dream, but they're sisters and brothers. So there's that original Blue Dream that made the name famous somehow. Something like the Girl Scout cookies. There was that original strain, but now everybody's has a bunch of sisters of the Blue Dream, because you plant a bunch of seeds, they're Blue Dream from the same manufacturer, but you're getting slightly different phenotypes, results. So they're still Blue Dream, they came from the same parents. They might look really similar, or they might look completely different. So it's all a woman has 10 babies, they're all going to look different.
Do you see the sun setting of us referring to strains this way, or us referring to strains at all, or no?
No, I don't see it. I think people like that, because we've done a lot of name testing. It's fun, because a name will sell a product.
Sure.
We found that out. People are, they'll buy what sounds cool. We have certain ones that we don't like the name. Like we have one called White Master Kush.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing to say, White Master.
Yeah.
But it's the white crossed with Master Kush. So it's a very descriptive name for the people who are looking to know what the lineage is and what they're smoking. They got it there,
Yeah.
but it's not a good one to say.
Yeah.
The White Master Kush.
No, it doesn't
But
sound right at all.
But the names are going to stick around, because that's a lot of people like the Blue Dream. So you have a Blue Dream that's crossed with a White Widow. Then you'll have Blue Widow, and people will know that came from a Blue Dream and a White Widow. It's the names a lot of times have the lineage in there, which tells people what they kind of can expect with it.
But that's not necessarily the
It
case.
isn't, because every plant's different.
That's it.
Yeah.
And we've got a whole set of consumers. You talked earlier about when Schedule 1, when it's off Schedule 1.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's going to be a whole nother set of consumers. But as, Colorado and Washington and as different states come on board here, there are going to be a whole new set of consumers who are not familiar in any way with these strains.
Yes.
And if the strain name actually doesn't really mean anything,
Then
what's your point of view there?
Well, you do whatever makes people buy. It's business.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever sells the most.
Okay.
So if Blue Dream, or let's say the White Master Kush, it's
Yeah.
not a great name. It
No.
might turn people off.
Yeah.
You change that to Soccer Mom Special. You can do that.
Sure.
And that might make that bud sell. So you do whatever it takes to make it sell, but then there's the purists who want the lineage. So we're trying to keep the lineage in there, but there's nothing holding us back from calling things Charlie Murphy. We did that once. We had Charlie Sheen and Charlie Murphy, and right next to each other.
Yeah.
And in our neighborhood, Charlie Murphy won out. And it was back when Charlie Sheen was really hot.
Sure.
But it's fun to do different names, come up with naming competitions. Say we plant 10 seeds of Blue Dream.
Yeah.
And one Blue Dream we really like, and we're calling it Blue Dream. There's another one that came out that's really good. We might name it something different, like Blue Hippo or something like that. Just because it's two different buds and we don't want them, or a Blue Dream 3 and Blue Dream 6, because we plant 10 seeds, we always number them.
Right.
And those numbers will follow the seedlings through. So if you see anything with a number behind it, that was the numbers of the seed, that 1 out of 10
Right.
that made it through the cut. So you could be Blue Dream 3 and Blue Dream 6, or you could even change it to the Blue Shark, Blue whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's more appealing.
Or Charlie Murphy.
Or Charlie Murphy. Yes.
So you talk about what sells, and Andy and Sally have both told us about the Aurora facility, which is up and running for a number of months now. What sells well there versus the original location?
Oh, that's only recreational over there too. So
Okay.
it's I'm not there very often to
Okay.
know.
Okay.
I'm lucky enough not to be there very often. I am.
You have a very specific set of skills, Pete.
I do, and I'm so lucky. My brother and my sister work so hard.
Yes.
And I work 6 days a week, at least 2 hours a day.
Okay.
I come in from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. I do tours, I do media.
Yeah.
But I'm ahead of myself in my job.
Yeah.
But I also.
Well, you're 3 facilities ahead.
But there's other things I could be doing.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of a mental block that keeps me hopping in there and just working with the employees. I don't like to get sticky anymore.
Right.
I just like Andy said, he had a lifespan on certain jobs.
Yeah.
My lifespan used to be 4 years. I did a new thing every 4 years, and I've been into this for like 6 years now, to where it's not. The work isn't as fun as it used to be, because I just have my 4-year lifespan on keeping interest on things.
Right.
So.
Extra on tiles because you were making so much money.
Well, yeah, I was supporting a family and I had to. That was work.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Right.
So I still invent things all the time. Like I've redesigned how everybody's going to make bubble hash in this country. And it's a whole new system, whole new way of doing it. And it's sitting all completely done, tested, proven, prototype made, but it's sitting in a bin for the last 6 months, nothing happening to it, because I like to build the things and prove the things, but I don't want to finish it. I'm not a finisher. I'm an idea guy and concept and proving it. But then after that, it's $1 million idea sitting in a clear bin up there.
Is Andy and Sally's point of view, let's not do that because we've got to do the main business, and when we get to it, we'll get to it, type of thing?
We've really tried to focus and not get too distracted. That's why we're not doing concentrates and edibles yet, and we're just about to.
Okay.
Because for the longest time, it was cheap enough just to buy them, and we double the price and sell them.
Right.
But now it's getting to the point where they're really charging us a lot for these concentrates, and we're having to give them our product and pay them money. So it's gotten to that point mathematically where it's time for us to open up our own concentrate company and distract us from our main focus. But that's been one of our successes, is staying focused on being professional growers. Then the dispensary came up and they made us had to learn to be distributors too. But that was great. That was the best thing that ever happened to us. But our focus has been on growing and growing efficiently. And I think we do it. There's probably people doing it more efficiently, but their places probably look like crud and they're not there for longevity, because ours is there to keep producing that year after year. And just like with our other wood side, we found out that that's not conducive to longevity. And we're retrofitting the insides of those rooms with the hospital quality plastic, so we can continue to get the superior results, because we were seeing a slow diminishing of our returns on that old side, and it was just because of all the wood and you can't sterilize everything, and now we're seeing it jump back up. I'm just about to get rid of those old tables, put all the new metal tables in there. It's gonna be really nice.
Unbelievable. I mean, you guys are so efficient, and you also though have that Williams flair for the artisanal. So what I'm going to call it is Medicine Man is artisanal efficiency.
Very good. I love it.
All right, so we're up near the end, and now you know by now what the last two questions are, and I'm going to push you on what has most surprised you in life. We're going to have to do something. Maybe it's from cannabis, but I want you to separate those two, right? So, what has most surprised you in cannabis? That's the first, question. You're there in your basement, things are, it's economic apocalypse. I start doing my thing. Andy, come help me out. Andy, this is the type of money I'm making. Andy, maybe we should. Andy, we're doing it. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, Mom. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to the Sally
I
and
did see
Andy
it. I
episodes.
have
Yeah,
listened to
exactly. But what has most surprised you in cannabis?
I see. I've been smoking since I was probably 16 years old.
Okay.
I ran out once in 1987 and promised myself it'd never happen again. So I was smoking recreational for me and my friends to play hacky sack and have fun and get high.
Yeah.
What surprised me the most is how many people I'm able to help in this industry.
Yeah.
It's so neat. It's 26% less opiate deaths in Colorado since marijuana was legalized. Parkinson's patients, MS, so many things that they thought they had no help. These people are leading fairly normal lives now, and maybe not cured, but quality of life is so much better for so many people. And doing it all my life for just recreation, to find out in the end to be helping people so much. It's so many, even children, and having parents coming in crying to you that their son or daughter or their grandparent or their parent is leading a better quality life because of what you're doing is very surprising to me. That because I was just thought it was a drug and you get high, and it's a medicine now, and that's really surprising, and how well it works.
Even in the early days where you had your patients' licenses to grow,
Yeah.
you've even learned since then, is the point.
Yeah, and there. You always think of a little bit of placebo, and you always think it's maybe not true. Like everybody thinks, oh, it's just a drug, this and that. But when you hear people over and over and over telling you that it's true, it works for them, and it works different for every person. Like me, I don't really get high anymore. Your body gets used to it, and you're there for the flavor and the social aspect of it.
Right.
But for people to be not committing suicide because their life is better, you're saving lives and getting those people off those evil opiates. They are so evil. It's like the doctors want people to die.
That's a whole different conversation for a whole different podcast.
Sally will kill me for saying that one.
No, yeah, and I you said it with a big smile on your face, and you were trying to start trouble. I know. And we're just going to leave that there.
Yes,
How about
okay,
that?
we'll leave it.
Exactly. You're going to try to start trouble. We're not going to let you. Okay. So then what about life? What has most surprised you in life? I mean, that's a big one to say that you've helped so many people through cannabis.
Yeah.
And that certainly could just be your answer for life. Any other thoughts, though? Yeah.
Maybe not surprised, but what's gotten me through life is positive attitude. That's not answering your question. I'm diverting.
Well, let's break it down though, because you said, I make you won't. I'll rephrase it because I don't remember exactly. You said I just decide I smile and then I smile and that's how I get through. What is that? Where does that come from? And how do you believe it yourself? Right?
Yeah, it is tough. My mom, Jiminy Cricket was there with me when I was younger, growing up, telling me to, I want to live to be 133.
Right.
I don't know where I got it from. I just have always found smiling makes me feel better, and it makes other people smile, and it releases endorphins and stuff. It's another scientific thing. Is if you smile to a person, they smile back. You're actually giving them a drug. So I'm dosing out good feelings just by trying to feel good myself. It's weird, but just a habit of a smile, or taking the worst case scenario and only thinking of what good can come out of that.
Sure.
Even the worst of the worst, taking a puppy dog dying and trying to find the positive in that. And I can.
Yeah.
It drove my ex-wife nuts.
I'm sure. I'm sure. But so it sounds like it's kind of it maybe wasn't cognitive to begin with. In other words, you didn't know that you were doing the smile thing, and then maybe someone pointed it out to you, and now you know that you.
Or you just learn over time that this is why people are saying you want to be my friend. This is why people are opening up to you, and I enjoy seeing people smile. And it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
It really is, and I don't know where it came from, but just like I remember Andy telling you that I've never hit a person in my life. I haven't.
Right.
I'm a very good person with my words, to where and I just try not to piss people off. You don't get on their bad side, and you don't do. I have no regrets in my life. That's another thing that most people can't say. No regrets.
Really?
I nothing. The worst thing I could think of is I was 16 or so and had a girlfriend. Her name was Jenny, great gal. I was having lunch with another female coworker, and she came in and said, "Oh, apparently you're having an affair and we're breaking up." And I was like, "Okay." Even though I wasn't having an affair, I was just having lunch with a coworker. I
Uh-huh.
let that happen. That's as bad as the thing I've ever done. I
That's
don't.
not that bad.
No, it isn't.
Pete.
I didn't lie to my mother. That's another thing. Don't lie to your parents.
Right.
A huge thing. I try to give advice to children all the time.
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah.
Be good to your family. Don't borrow money and not return it, because that's why we've got such a great family. Is we've always been there for each other. We've never borrowed much money and not returned it.
Right.
And it's a great support. It's having a support system is crucial. And so many people are having problems in life. It's because they don't have a support system, or they burnt their bridges of their support system.
Right.
And we have a great support system, and that's helped us all be successful. Is having mom to talk to, mom to go to money for,
Yeah, right.
and just having a good family to fall back on, that we never screwed each other.
Right.
So that's so important for youngins listening right now.
Right, yeah.
Don't lie to your mama,
Right.
and be good to your parents and your family, because when you're 30 or 40 and you need to borrow some money, they'll be there for you. And so many people don't have that because they want to party when they're younger. That's another thing, is when I was younger, we drank and we smoked pot and had a good time, but I was still pretty responsible. I always had a job. And I from when I was 15, I've had a job from when I was 15 and 40 hours a week. And my motto was to work harder than everybody around me. And it was always like when I delivered pizzas, my store, which I cleaned every night, won the cleanest store of the district award, the Kendall Award. And that was because I was the one cleaning it.
Right.
And because it's just do everything better than anybody else can and have pride in your work.
Yeah.
And you go home feeling good. It was maybe taught to it being a military family, or my mom just had really good morals. It's a very lucky guy in
You
everything.
really are a lucky
Yeah.
guy. And it seems that even though there were definitely tough times, obviously early on,
Yeah.
and then in the middle there,
Yeah.
it doesn't, not for many of the three of you, you included, it doesn't feel like there were tough times,
No.
It feels like that was just what was happening.
Well, it made the highs that much higher
Yeah.
when you're used to being at a low all the time.
Yeah.
And when we were in Colorado, we got to, when my mom married Richard,
Yeah.
we got to be middle class or close to middle class. So it was a fairly normal from, say, fourth or fifth grade on.
Yeah.
We weren't poor. We had food to eat. We had, what we needed. And so, but still, my mom, our stepdad was great.
Yeah.
He was such a good guy. Take us fishing. And I remember I used to have a go-kart, and I would spend all my time on my go-kart. And he came up to me and said, "Why don't you put this attention? I ask you to do something, you do a half-assed job. When you're doing anything on your go-kart, you put all the time that needs it." And I remember stuff like that, and thinking about that is, hey, I work harder on stuff that I like.
Yeah.
And just little things like that. And our stepdad was a great, patient man who he taught. I'm a lot like him. I'm a lot like my father.
Yeah.
It's really neat to see yourself in other people.
Find what you love and keep putting the effort
Yeah.
there. And I will note that the go-kart engine, very similar to a lawnmower
It
engine.
is, yes.
Then the Graduate is the motorcycle engine, right?
Yes,
That's the
motorcycle.
derivation.
Yep. And I was just thinking of all the other things I was doing back then, building helicopters. I almost got off the ground. My mom made me stop because I was going to kill myself. A big bicycle with it was a big wooden frame with a huge blade, bicycle parts running the motor. I was going to kill somebody or myself before she made me stop. And then when I had my bicycle, we used to always pretend with our imaginations. I was on a Peterbilt. I was on my truck, and my friend was on his Kenworth, and we made trailer hitches for our
Was
bicycles.
his name Ken?
No, it was Joe Sherrod.
Okay.
We made trailers for our bicycles,
Yeah.
and we had box trailers pulling behind our bikes. We were on our semis, and we'd sleep in them at night. Just park them in the field across the street and sleep in them, and just, I don't know, I had a great imagination.
Yeah.
I was in my Nova or my Peterbilt
Right.
when we were riding around.
Not bad. Not bad at all. So we did a lot of talking there about things that you appreciate about life. Well, I guess I'm most surprised about the power of a smile. I mean, can we mark that down as your biggest surprise, or
Yeah, let's
right?
that makes it easy on me. That a smile can change a person's day.
Yeah.
And just a positive attitude can change your day. That was one of my ex-wife's problems is when something was going to happen 2 weeks from now, she always thought the worst thing was going to happen.
Right.
And I always thought the best thing was going to happen. And she stressed over it for 2 weeks. And 9 times out of 10, it was somewhere in between and it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But why stress over things? Just assume the positive's going to happen. And if the negative happens, try to accentuate the positive of it.
There you go. And also don't waste your time on anticipation.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Pete Williams. Love it. Thanks for the smile.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Anytime.
We'll see you down the line. So there you have it. That's the Pete Williams. And you can now understand, if you've listened to the Andy Williams and Sally Vander Veer interviews, the total picture when you add Pete to that list. So we're very happy to have some time with Pete, and we look forward to further interaction with all Williams.